Welcome to CBN Sports One-on-One, where you'll hear exclusive interviews with some of the biggest names in sports right here on the CBN Sports Podcast Network. I'm your host, Will Dawson. If you're like most of us and you love sports, but you're tired of the dark side of sports culture, me-focused athletes, or even organizations that bow to an unbiblical belief system, we think you're going to love this podcast. There's no yelling, there's no sensationalism, just great conversations with athletes and coaches who recognize that their purpose is bigger than their sport. Well, our guest this week is a two-time national champion in freestyle wrestling from Iowa State. He comes from a family of Olympians, including his father, Nate Carr, who won the bronze medal in the 1988 Olympics. I spoke with David Carr about a variety of topics, including identity, legacy, and the power of community. Let's jump right in. Yeah, we'll start at the beginning then. Your dad, Nate, was a great athlete, great wrestler, Olympic champion, came to Iowa State. Following in his footsteps, how difficult was that?
You know, growing up, being young, I didn't start wrestling till 5th grade, and some of the people that I was wrestling with had been wrestling for a long time. So I didn't have quick success. I lost a lot, and having a dad like Nate Carr, you know, multiple national champion, he's in multiple Hall of Fames, he wrestled in the Olympics, like, it was kind of tough because they just expect you to know what to do, they expect you to be really good, and I was just like, no, this is my first year wrestling, and I got my butt kicked a lot, but it was good. I learned a lot of lessons, and I'm very thankful for that.
Were you, at the beginning, did you think to yourself going into it, I'm going to go kill these kids because of my dad?
I knew that having him as my dad, I knew I had an advantage because I knew, like, man, if I can listen to him, he's wrestled at the highest level. But at the same time, going into it, my dad's so humble, I didn't even know how good he was, really. He didn't really talk about winning that much. And he was a pastor for a really long time after coaching. And so, like, most of our conversations were more about faith, character, integrity. And then as he started to get back into wrestling and coaching wrestling, that's when I kind of was like, oh, you know, I'm trying this wrestling thing. I wasn't very good at first, and I knew that he could help me, though, as I started to grow. And I found that he was very knowledgeable with the wrestling, the faith, the lifestyle it took to be a champion.
So growing up, simultaneously, you have this coach, this faith coach in your dad, and then you're also growing as a wrestler. As a young kid, which one did you see growing faster? And which one did you see growing more, I guess, during that time?
That's a good question. I would say the wrestling was kind of a slow, gradual process of getting better. With my faith, I feel like I knew a lot about the Bible. I knew a lot. I was saved at a young age. I got baptized at a young age. And so I had a great understanding. We do devotionals as a family, and I was homeschooled. So I was homeschooled. Most of my siblings were homeschooled. Until about 5th grade is when I went to public school. And that was a heck of an experience, you know, being away from my family, going to school for a few hours and doing things like that. But, you know, I definitely felt like I probably grew in my faith fast right away, but it didn't get to the relational piece until later on. I didn't get that closeness and that relational piece until I would really say till college. So the wrestling kind of kept progressing, but, you know, getting that understanding the importance of spending time with God and doing things like that, like, you know, I'd only go to church, and then that was kind of the last time I would think about God until I got to church again. Or if we had like a devotional, I'd think about it, and I just go throughout my day as a young kid.
You still identified, though, as a Christian. And,
yes.
You weren't like a bad kid. You weren't getting into trouble or anything like that.
No.
When did the wrestling start to take off? When did you start thinking of yourself as, I'm really good at this?
I would say when I won my first state title, I was like, wow, like I did it. I'm feeling like on top of the world. And that's why I kind of knew, like, man, I can be pretty good at this. And my dad has us set up our goals. And that was one of the things. He's like, if you're going to do wrestling, have goals, make a game plan and try to achieve it. And so when I won that first state title, I was like, man, what else can I do? What else can I work hard, write it down, and achieve it?
So what kind of goals then were you writing down for yourself?
So the first goal I remember writing down, because I was around a lot of other really good wrestlers, because a lot of guys wanted to be around my dad. So I would watch them do really well in high school, and I'd gone to the state tournament. So I remember being a four-time state champ was like, if you're a four-time state champ, that's like one of the best things you can do. And colleges are gonna be recruiting you hard. Ohio's a really good wrestling state. So being a four-time state champ, Fargo champ, which is just a national tournament in high school, and then Ironman champion, another national level tournament. You win those tournaments, every college in the country is going to try to recruit you.
So when did you start getting recruited for schools?
When I won my first big tournament my sophomore year in high school. It was national level tournament. Was the Ironman was one of my goals, and then after that, I think I was ranked like number 2 or number 1 in the country as a sophomore. So a lot of schools were maybe sending me letters. I don't know if they could contact me yet, but they were, you could see that they're interested, and they were talking to my dad like, man, he's really good. We want to try to get him to come on a visit once he's able, and that was cool too. Like that was a goal to get recruited, to have the option to go wherever I wanted to go once I had that time.
So you were writing down goals, and for regular wrestlers, I'll say regular wrestlers, those would be big goals to achieve.
Yeah.
But your sights were higher than that. Were you dreaming much bigger, or were you just kind of like, let me get this next thing and then I'll think about what's happening later?
I think I definitely set my goals super high, and that's just, I think it's good to do that. And maybe you don't achieve them all, but then you learn lessons. It builds character, resilience. It just builds all these things in you. If you don't, and if you do, you're like, wow, like this is what you can do if you work hard, if you're disciplined. In high school, I probably missed out on a lot of things, birthday parties and prom and like a lot of things I probably missed out on just because I was training and I was wrestling. But I knew that sacrifice, missing those things and not doing certain things in high school would set me up to be a champion, not only on the mat, but off the mat with Christ. So, I had to have a yes for my goals and a no to anything going the opposite direction.
How many matches did you lose in high school?
7.
You know every one of them? You remember them?
Yeah. So I was 247-7, and every match, I remember the matches I won, but the matches I lost were the ones that I circled, I watched, I studied. What can I do better? They made me a lot better wrestler, and so I'm thankful for those losses and those challenges. Because I think some wrestlers, they don't get challenged too much. Maybe they dominate in high school. They get to college, the next level, they get a little bit of adversity, and then they're like, man, I'm not that good. Or maybe they take it personally. Man, I suck at wrestling. And I think for me, my dad always taught me, like, man, you lost. Hey, let's not personalize it like, hey, you suck. Just get in a better stance. Let's do better technique. And that skill that I learned there has helped me learn from my losses and get better and better each time I wrestle.
254 matches, you won 247 of them. And so what were you thinking when you did lose? Was it just wait till next time, or were you angry, or?
I definitely didn't handle things probably as good then. I probably was just like, oh, I can't believe this guy beat me. I suck. Losing in high school, and because I didn't lose too much, it was definitely a reflection. At first, I definitely would personalize it. I'd be like, man, I'm not good. Like, I can't believe I lost, things like that. But then as I got older and got a little bit smarter, I realized, man, let's not personalize. Let's learn from the loss. And ultimately, it helped me grow as a person.
Does that teach you, losing then teach you, I don't know, in your faith? And I guess when you go and share your testimony, it's kind of a condensed version more than likely. What is your testimony? How did you come to Christ? I know that you were raised a Christian, but when did it become real to you?
So yeah, my testimony is, grew up a Christian, grew up in a very loving Christian home. My dad was a pastor and a great wrestler, mentored me well, and my mom mentored me well. But I think that I didn't have like that relational piece until college. So I came to college. I went to the Salt Network. It's a college ministry. They have church on Thursday, and they have a church on Sunday. So I go Thursday and Sunday, and I started growing. I went to this, it's called a devotional group, a D group, with one of my roommates, and it was my sophomore year. And I remember feeling like I was living this like double life of, man, I go to church on Sunday, go to church on Thursday, and then the rest of the week I'm not really thinking about my actions. I'm not thinking about sin. I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just kind of just doing my thing, and just kind of living for the world, living my own life. Even though, I'm saved, I'm a Christian, I hadn't like really found a way to have that change in my heart, that softness in my heart. So then going to this devotional group, they're really challenging me, like, how can we help you? What sin do you want to work on? How can you love others well? Like the Bible says, just like, all the scripture, but you need to get better at, like, let's apply those scriptures. Let's love others well. And so I remember even hearing that, I still struggled, and kind of still, I wasn't doing anything terrible or anything. Like, I don't drink or smoke or anything. Mainly my reasons for that is just like, well, if I want to be the best wrestler ever, those things don't line up with that. And also, it's not going to help me get closer to Christ. So I wouldn't do anything too crazy, but I definitely wasn't living a life that was honoring to God, I would say. And then finally, trying to live for just my own pleasure and my own life, I came to a breaking point. I wasn't happy with wrestling. I wasn't happy with where I was in life. And I just got on my knees and said, man, like, I tried to do it my way. I tried to do the double life, go to church, and then do whatever I want, really. It's not working out. I feel broken. I feel empty. And there's this void that I have inside me that no matter how many championships I win, how many people tell me how great I am, I can't get that in there. It's not going to change me. There's something that I can't be filled. And then I just got on my knees and just like, I just want to live for you. I don't care if I win another wrestling match again. I don't care what happens. As long as I follow you, whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to do. And then that point forward, I just recommitted my life to Christ. And then that's when the relationship part happened, where I was in my Bible. I was hungry for the Word. I was praying. I was in community. Before, I didn't have community of people challenging me and holding me accountable. After that moment, I found that community and changed my life to the point of like, man, I want to be so bold with my faith. I want to be so like strong with my faith when people are talking, man, there's something different about you. Why do you treat people like this? Or why do you do this? I'm like, thank you for asking. It's because Jesus Christ. It's because He's changed my life. And I want that testimony and how I treat people to be shine more brightly than the championships I win. I want people to see like my legacy to be like, he was a good teammate. He was a good son. He was a good brother. He was a good friend. Those are the things that I cherish the most.
And he just happened to be a national champion as well, right?
Yeah.
2 times over.
Yeah.
Do you find as somebody who is somebody who writes down goals and somebody who attacks goals and says, yes, I got that. Yes, I got that. Do you attack your faith the same way?
Yeah, I have some faith goals, and most of those things are like very try to become disciplined. Just like in the sport of wrestling, you have to be very disciplined. I eat the same thing every day, go to sleep at the same time, do all these things to be a champion. And when you're running the race for Christ, I think the Christian faith is definitely, when I set my goals, I do remember that it's more like this. I think people think you become a Christian and you just stop cussing, you stop watching porn, you stop doing all this stuff. Well, really, it's more like you do really well, and then sometimes you do really bad. And knowing that God has grace that's sufficient. But yeah, I mean, I have my goals would be, love others well. Now, if I'm driving in traffic, I might yell at someone like, man, what is this guy doing? I'm sure God probably doesn't want me to do that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was me. Sorry about that.
So I really try to do those things. Love others well is like the most important thing that I try to think about. It says in the Bible to know God is to know love, and because God is love, and so like loving others well. And one of the greatest commandments, love the Lord with all your heart, and then love your neighbor as yourself. So those are the things that those are like my goals every day. How am I going to love this person intentionally? How can I pray for this person intentionally? And then sometimes I meet it, sometimes I fall short.
Yeah, there was one perfect person, right?
Yeah.
When did the rededication, just fully giving your life to Christ, happen? Did that happen before your first championship?
Uh, that happened. Yeah, that happened before my first championship. Yeah.
So then, what changed on the mat, or did you just happen to see I did this, and then I just happened to win it all?
Man, God just really blessed me to win. I don't know. I definitely. It's crazy because I was like, I don't even care about wrestling right now. I just want to get close to my faith. But as I did that, He just blessed me so much in the wrestling part because I was more free. I put a lot of pressure on myself because I remember being in high school, being a #2 overall recruit, being a blue chip, getting to college. My biggest fear, I wrote a paper about in high school, like if I wasn't a good college wrestler. I was like, that'd be my biggest fear. So then that puts a lot of pressure on yourself of like, man, you have all these expectations. Your dad's a national champ. Your dad's this, and your uncles, and we're all Americans. And I was like, man, what if I don't do any of those things? But then when I was like, I'm just going to focus on my faith, I was like, man, I've already won with Christ. Whatever happens, happens. I'm just going to, it doesn't mean I'm not going to eat right, train hard, and give it my best shot. But I just know that that's not my identity.
Yeah, so then you win 2 out of the next 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Championships, you move up in weight class, win. But the year that you didn't win, so last year, you probably were expecting to win that year.
Yeah.
So tell me about the disappointment.
Yeah, so just some context. I move up a weight. Obviously, I write my goals down. Hey, national champ, do your best, dominate. And that year, almost perfect. I didn't lose all season. Went into the NCAA finals undefeated. The guy who was the #2 seed was the defending national champion the year before at the weight, and I had beaten him twice. And I go into the finals, had beaten him twice, and then he beat me in the national finals. Very crushing because you believe that you did everything you could to win. You believe that you're going to be the champion that year. And man, I think it was tough for sure. A lot of people expecting you to win. It's all over TV. It's on ESPN. Sports now, you lose, it's going to be on your page on your phone. It's going to be on all over social media. So it's a little bit tougher. It's hard to just forget, like, oh, man, I lost. It's whatever. I open up my phone. It's going to be me losing. It's going to be on ESPN. So those are the things that I had to kind of deal with. But I remember having a little bit more ease, just knowing that, and this was really hard. It's okay to feel sad just because you care about it a lot, but trusting in that God has a plan, and that ultimately, if this didn't happen for me, it wasn't meant for me. God doesn't make mistakes, and He doesn't waste pain either. I believe He doesn't waste any pain. When there's tears, it says that the angels keep the tears in like a little bottle. So, the tears that I shed, it wasn't wasted, and it built my character. It built that resilience, and it built the things that I'm most proud of today.
That word resilient that we talked about, what did that teach you that next year, and how did it change your training leading up to your final year?
So, the final year, knowing that, last year falling short, man, it deepened my faith. It deepened my belief in that, you want to be able to trust the Lord. And I think one of the great things that I've learned from that loss is, like, you can say you trust the Lord, but when He puts you in a situation to trust Him, how are you going to, react to that? So I could lose, and I could just be like, man, that, I really thought, or I can be like, man, in that moment, it felt like God was saying, hey, I want you to honor me. Even though you lost, you still have to give honor to God. Even though you lost, you still have to treat people well. And you say that you trust me, now show me. And this year that just happened with me wrestling, it was me showing the Lord, like, this is me putting everything in your hands. I'm giving you this season. Whether I win or lose, I know that it's whatever is supposed to happen. It's meant to happen. I'm going to train hard. I'm going to be diligent. And I'm going to pray that, if it's your will, this will happen. If not, I'm going to be okay with it, because you're the most important thing in the universe. You are the king of the universe. That's what I'm focusing on.
So after the championship, I'm sure it was an amazing, even probably even better than the first one.
Yeah.
You get to appreciate it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
What are your goals moving forward? I know we talked about speaking and doing camps, maybe coaching, but you've been successful on the national stage. You've been successful on the international stage. The Olympics is still out there, and you got hurt prior to this training, but the Olympics have to be a goal, right?
Yeah. So a little bit about my family. My uncle's the youngest Olympian. He made the Olympic team at 16, going on to 17. My dad made the Olympic team. So two people in my family, being wrestling in the Olympics growing up, man, that's the goal. And I see everything else as like kind of stepping stones to get there and to get me closer to that goal. And, to be an Olympic champion, to be a world champion, those are the things that I think about. Those are the things that keep me working hard and keep me disciplined. So, it's in God's hands. I put my faith in Him. If I'm a world champ or Olympic champ, that'd be awesome. But if I'm not, not much will change in my character, how I view life, and how much I love other people.
You're a goal setter. You're a goal reacher, goal achiever. What does the next several years look like for you?
So I will be training on the senior circuit, wrestling in tournaments all over the country, all over the world. And my goal would be to, first, how can I be a faithful presence around my teammates. I want to lead a Bible study. Now that I'm not wrestling every weekend and doing college sports, how can I help those around me in the Bible study? And secondly, how can I be the best champion I can be? To be a world and Olympic champion, how can I be that every day? How can I train like a world champion? How can I eat like a world champion? How can I just do all these things to be world champion? And that'd be the goal. And then hopefully it works out.
So there are a lot of people who think, man, I see what you're doing with your faith. That seems like I've got to do this, and that's just a little bit too much for me. I'm not going to have any of it. What advice would you give to somebody like that?
I would say that, with faith, having that relationship with God is important. Everyone has different convictions, and every relationship is a little bit different, but I just know that we have a God that loves us so much. He knows every hair on our head. He's put more thought into you than there are sea of sand on the seashore. Like you can't even count it. So that's how much He cares and loves you so much. So I would just encourage those people to just have a relationship with Him. I think about this last story of something I think about is you go to someone's house, you know the person, they don't know you, knock on the door. You say, hey, can I come in? And they're like, no, like they're not gonna let you in if you go to a stranger's house, kind of. So then, say you go to the same person's house, you knock, and the situation is like, hey, I actually know your son. I'm supposed to be meeting him here. They'll welcome you in with open arms. Come in, have something to drink, sit down. This house is your house. That's how I see it with Christ. If you die and you don't have a relationship with Christ, you have eternity separated from Him. And so you don't want to be that person knocking on the door and He said, depart from me, I never knew you. But if you have a relationship with Jesus Christ, if you know the Son, if you know God, then when you knock on the door, wow, David, I've heard a lot about you. My son's actually talked about you. We're really excited for you to come in the house, hang out, have a drink, have something to eat. Just come join us. Man, that's the relationship piece. The enemy doesn't care he doesn't even mind if you go to church as long as you don't have a relationship. And man, I just want everyone to have a relationship with Christ. so that when they come to the end of their life and they get to hear, man, I've heard so many good things. I've seen so many good things. Well done, faithful servant. And get to see the riches of heaven. That's the amazing part. That's something that I hope that everyone gets a chance to see.
Well, David Carr is such an encouragement, isn't he? You can hear it in him. He's a perfectionist. He's a doer. And while that is an incredible gift that was given him by God, sometimes the most driven people can feel the disappointment of failure the most. In David's case, failure drove him to succeed all the more. And in so doing, he realized that success became his God. God created us all differently. Maybe you're like David and you're an achiever. Or maybe you watch others and wonder why you aren't as talented and discouragement has become your reality. Well, no matter who you are, God is both the God to the strong and to the weak. And in fact, while we make distinctions, the Bible says that we're all weak. And our weakness is actually our strength because we have to depend then on God's strength. Well, it was Jesus' strength that endured the cross, bearing the weight of each one of our sins, and so that if you put your trust in him, he will welcome you into his family. If you enjoyed this podcast, we ask that you share it with a friend, a family member, a coworker. Our goal is to reach the world with the gospel through sports. And subscribe. That's a small way that you can help us. And you can actually watch this podcast on YouTube. We have a feature stories tab there with athletes as well as video shorts that we think you'll enjoy. And we're also on social media. On Instagram, we're at CBN Sports _. Just search for us on Facebook, X, and TikTok. And until next week, we'll see you then.